This country is smaller than Belgium. It has almost no water, no oil. Half of it is desert. And yet, right here lies a treasure map worth dozens of tons of gold. Ordinary people lose their minds and declare themselves prophets. And beneath the waves hides a city 9,000 years old. And right now, as you read this, the ground is literally collapsing. Without warning, without a sound. Why did every great empire in history fight and die for this particular patch of earth? Egyptians, Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, Romans, Crusaders, Mongols, Ottomans, the British. They all came here, not only for religion. There is something far more fundamental at work. This is Israel. 3 facts before we begin. The 3 largest world religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, simultaneously claim this territory as their own. All of this on less than 22,000 square kilometers, smaller than Belgium. The most volatile flashpoint in global geopolitics sits on a plot of land covering 14 hectares. That's the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. 14 hectares that have brought the world to the brink of a third world war, more than once. And beneath the streets where people are right now strolling and sipping coffee, lies more undiscovered history than anywhere else on the planet. Jerusalem has been built and destroyed 44 times, every time on the ruins of what came before. Hold that thought. Subscribe to our new videos and let's begin. The sea where you cannot drown, but the ground might swallow you. You can lie on your back on the water and read a newspaper. Literally, arms raised, paper above your head. You simply will not sink. Physically impossible. The Dead Sea is so saturated with salt that the water's density pushes your body to the surface like a cork. Everyone knows that. Here's what you don't know. The Dead Sea is the lowest point on the surface of the Earth, nearly 430 meters below ocean level. You are standing at the bottom of a colossal rift in the planet's crust, the Syrian-African Rift, which stretches from Turkey all the way to Mozambique. Beneath your feet right now, 2 tectonic plates are slowly pulling apart, several millimeters per year. Shock fact number 1. Every year, the water level of the Dead Sea drops by approximately 1 meter. Over the past century, it has lost 1/3 of its surface area. Abandoned hotels line the shores. The water's edge is now half a kilometer away. But that's not the most unsettling part. The ground along the shoreline is collapsing. Suddenly, without warning. In the past 20 years alone, more than 6,000 sinkholes have opened up. You're driving down a road, and the asphalt simply disappears into a 10-meter pit. It happens because the retreating salt water exposes ancient salt deposits. Fresh water dissolves them from within, and the surface caves in. The place where you cannot drown is literally consuming the ground beneath you. And here's the paradox that makes this place genuinely strange. The mud from the Dead Sea floor, saturated with magnesium, calcium, and bromine, has a clinically proven therapeutic effect on psoriasis and eczema. People come here with chronic skin conditions. Many experience real, measurable relief. A place where nothing can live heals the living. Salt concentration, around 34%, 10 times saltier than the ocean. No fish, no algae, no shellfish, no multicellular organism can survive it. Only halobacteria, specialized microbes that don't merely survive this environment, but thrive in it, stain the shallows pink and crimson. The Dead Sea is the only place on Earth where death looks like a resort. The crater that isn't a crater. From one hole in the Earth to another, on an entirely different scale. In the Negev desert lies a depression 40 kilometers long, 10 kilometers wide, and up to 300 meters deep. Layered cliffs in red, yellow, and violet. On the floor, crystals and petrified trees 200 million years old. This is Makhtesh Ramon, and it is not a meteor impact crater, not a volcano, nothing so familiar. It is an erosion crater. Millions of years ago, a stone dome rose here. Water and wind hollowed it from within, carried the rock away, and the dome collapsed, exposing what had always been hidden inside. It is as if someone split the planet open and revealed its cross-section. 200 million years of geology in a single wall. There are only a handful of places like it on Earth. Local Bedouins call it the end of the world, not because it frightens them, because it feels like you've stepped beyond the edge of the ordinary world. The underwater city nobody talks about. The next fact is hidden not in the desert, but beneath the sea. A few kilometers from Haifa, at a depth of 10 meters, lies a city, 9,000 years old. A complete settlement, houses, wells, granaries. Divers find human skeletons there, arranged in burial positions, everything preserved. It is called Atlit-Yam, an underwater Stonehenge almost no one has heard of. The centerpiece, 7 massive stones, placed vertically in a circle on the seabed. Each weighs 2 to 3 tons. They stand in deliberate order, surrounding a freshwater spring. Why? A ritual, a calendar, a marker. Scientists are still arguing. No one panicked. No one ran. They just kept living, while the sea was taking their world. Think about what that means. These people watched the ocean claim their home, not in a single catastrophic wave, but meter by meter, year by year, across generations. And they stayed. They built. They buried their dead. They drew water from that spring, surrounded by those standing stones, and they carried on. That is not a myth. That is a fact carved in seabed mud. How did the city end up underwater? After the last ice age, the Mediterranean rose, slowly, across the lifetimes of several generations. People watched the sea reclaim the shore, slowly, inexorably. The beach your grandfather played on was gone by the time you were born. The path your father walked to fish was underwater by your 10th birthday. The house where you were born was next. And yet, they did not flee in panic. Archaeological evidence shows continued habitation, continued ritual, continued life, right until the sea made it impossible. Picture it. You live in a village on the coast. Your father remembers when the shoreline was further away. Your grandfather told you it was further still in his childhood. Your great-grandfather watched the sea take the first houses. Generation after generation, the water advances, slowly, unstoppably. You already know that within decades it will reach your door, and you stay anyway, because this is your world, your spring, your circle of stones. That memory, passed mouth to mouth across 7,000 years, distorted by time, magnified by telling, may well be what we know as the story of the Great Flood. Not a mythical apocalypse in a single day, a real, gradual drowning of everything familiar, witnessed, remembered, and mourned. The oldest grief in human history, preserved under 10 meters of salt water, 3 kilometers off the coast of modern Israel. Jerusalem, the city that goes down forever. Natural wonders accounted for. Now we go underground. But first, one thing worth keeping in mind for everything that follows. Jerusalem is not simply an old city. It is a place where, every time someone breaks ground to build something new, the excavator hits something nobody knew existed the day before. This happens routinely. Workers dig a parking garage. They find an ancient marketplace. They lay a sewer line. They hit Crusader cisterns. They plant a road sign. They strike a Byzantine mosaic floor. In most countries, such a discovery halts work for months, sometimes years. In Jerusalem, it happens so often that established protocols exist. Document, assess, decide, continue. The city simply cannot afford to stop every time, which is why no one knows how much more is down there. No one can give you a number. Beneath every meter of present-day Jerusalem, potentially several more meters of history. Jerusalem is not just a city, it is a layered cake. Each layer a civilization, built and destroyed 44 times. 44. No other city on earth has been rebuilt so many times. Right now, beneath the streets where tourists drink coffee, lie the Crusaders. Beneath them, Byzantium. Beneath Byzantium, Rome. Beneath Rome, the Age of Solomon. Shock fact number 2. One of the stones in the foundation of the Western Wall weighs 517 tons. 3 railway cars stacked on top of one another. The heaviest block in the Egyptian pyramids weighs around 80 tons. Stonehenge, 40. 517. Without cranes, without concrete, without steel. Historians say, wooden rollers, levers, thousands of workers. Possibly. But when you stand beside that stone in the underground tunnel and look at it, the most rational explanation still feels somehow incomplete. The Western Wall tunnels are open to visitors. You walk along masonry 2,000 years old, in a narrow corridor beneath a living city, and the question comes on its own. How much more is hidden deeper down? A lot, as it turns out. Recently, an entire street was excavated beneath Jerusalem. A real, paved street from the 1st century CE. It ran from the Temple Mount down through the lower city, preserved almost in full, along with the storm drain beneath it. This is not a reconstruction, not a model. Real stone. The same stone that people walked on in the years when Jesus of Nazareth walked this city. You walk on it today, while someone above you drinks coffee in a street cafe. And between the two of you, 2,000 years fit into the height of 1 meter. Beneath the trading quarters of the old city lies another underground world entirely. Zedekiah's Cave. Enormous halls where 3,000 years ago limestone was quarried for the construction of Jerusalem. 250 meters of passages, ceilings 15 meters high. A silence so complete you can hear your own breathing. Legend holds that the last king of Judah fled through these tunnels when the Babylonians took the city. Some of the passages have still not been explored. And then there is the question that every serious archaeologist in Jerusalem carries quietly. The Ark of the Covenant. Where is it? Its last reliable mention in the Bible, the end of the 7th century BCE, shortly before the Babylonian conquest. Then, silence. The Babylonians kept detailed inventories of everything they looted from Jerusalem. The Ark is not on the list. Some rabbinical authorities and a number of researchers maintain that it was hidden in a sealed chamber beneath the Temple Mount before the invasion. Ground-penetrating radar surveys conducted at various points beneath the Al-Aqsa Mosque have detected large underground cavities. Large. Unexplored. Excavation is categorically forbidden. Digging beneath the mosques is treated as a political act. Official position? The question is closed. Unofficially, it is never closed. There are several versions of where the Ark may have gone. The Ethiopian version, it was taken to Ethiopia during the reign of Solomon. It rests there now, in a church in the city of Aksum. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church officially affirms this. The artifact cannot be viewed. It is guarded by a single monk who is not permitted to leave the church grounds. When he dies, another is appointed, the Keeper of the Ark. The Jordanian version. Some researchers believe the Ark was hidden on Mount Nebo, where Moses is said to have died. Excavations were conducted there. Nothing was found, or nothing was reported. The Roman version. After the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 CE, Rome transported the temple treasures to the capital. The Arch of Titus in Rome still bears a carved relief of that procession. The menorah is clearly visible. The Ark is not depicted. Either it wasn't among the spoils, or the sculptor left it out. Not one of these versions has been proven. Not one has been definitively disproven. In 1980, a construction excavator in southern Jerusalem broke through into a burial cave. Inside, 10 stone ossuaries, bone boxes. Some carried names: Joseph, Mary, Judas, Mary Amin, Yeshua, son of Joseph. Yeshua, son of Joseph. In English, Jesus, son of Joseph. Official science. The names were common. Coincidence is possible. In 2007, director James Cameron, the same man who made Titanic, released a documentary arguing this was the family tomb of Jesus of Nazareth. The Vatican rejected it. Scholars divided. The ossuaries sit in storage. The question is officially closed. Unofficially, it is never closed. This is Jerusalem. Every stone here is a lit fuse. What Jerusalem does to people's minds. Now, what this place does to people. Ordinary tourists. Shock fact number 3. Jerusalem syndrome is an official psychiatric diagnosis, not a metaphor. Documented in medical literature. Between 40 and 100 cases are recorded every year. The pattern is always the same. A completely normal person with no psychiatric history arrives in Jerusalem. Within a few days, mounting agitation, then an overwhelming compulsion to be clean, to bathe, to cut their nails. Then they wrap themselves in a hotel bedsheet or towel, walk out into the street, and begin loudly preaching to strangers. They are completely, sincerely convinced they are a prophet, or John the Baptist, or the Messiah. Most recover fully after hospitalization. Back home, they struggle to explain what happened to them. The syndrome only strikes those who already carried a powerful religious connection to the city before arriving. Secular tourists who come to look at old stones do not wrap themselves in bed sheets. The place works only on those who believed in it too intensely. Among documented cases, Protestant pastors, Catholic nuns, Jewish theologians. One Canadian tourist introduced himself to hotel staff as Samson and demanded an ass's jawbone. Another rose at dawn each morning to recite psalms at the Western Wall, convinced he was King David. A third cut all his clothing into strips, wove them into something resembling biblical garments, and set off on foot toward Bethlehem. Police found him on the highway a few hours later. The profile is always the same. No psychiatric history, normal, socially functional, simply devout. A few days in the city, then escalating agitation, the urge to purify, the bedsheet, the sermon, and total, unshakable conviction in a prophetic mission. Most cases resolve within days of the person being removed from the city, literally removed. While they remain in Jerusalem, the condition holds. Psychiatrists call it a brief psychotic disorder triggered by environment. The city creates a rupture between the idealized image a person has carried all their life and the real city. Loud, dusty, contested, commercial. The mind cannot absorb the dissonance. Sounds logical, but it doesn't explain why here. Why not Rome, which also carries millennia of history? Why not Mecca? Why only Jerusalem? The scrolls, the cave, and the goat that changed history. 1947, the Judean desert. A teenage Bedouin shepherd named Mohammed Edib is doing something completely ordinary, looking for a lost goat. He spots a cave in the cliffs above the Dead Sea, throws a stone in, the way you do when you're bored and searching. He hears something he doesn't expect, the sharp crack of shattering clay. He climbs in. Inside, ceramic jars sealed with lids. Inside the jars, scrolls wrapped in linen. He had no idea what he was looking at. Neither did anyone else at first. The greatest archaeological discovery of the 20th century, triggered by a lost goat and a thrown stone. The Dead Sea Scrolls. Over 900 manuscripts, the oldest dating to the 3rd century BCE, written before Julius Caesar was born, before the Roman Empire existed, before Christianity existed. The Qumran caves are not one cave, there are 11. Cave 4, discovered in 1952, appears to have been the main library. But here is where it gets strange. Researchers didn't find tidy, intact scrolls. They found thousands of fragments scattered across the floor, as if someone had torn through the room in fury or fled in terror, shredding everything behind them. The image is not peaceful. It is chaotic, desperate. Scholars spent years assembling those pieces like a puzzle with no picture on the box. Some manuscripts were reconstructed from several hundred fragments. Others still haven't been identified. Why did any of this survive 2,000 years? Because the Dead Sea is the driest place in the Middle East. Near zero humidity, stable cave temperature year-round, almost no microorganisms, too dry for them to survive. The scrolls went into clay jars, the lids went on, the jars went into the cave, and nature did the rest. Every great library of antiquity is gone. The Library of Alexandria, ash. The Library of Pergamon, vanished. But this library, which no one planned to keep forever, survived everything. Because someone put the right things in the right place at the right time. Shock fact number 4. The Book of Enoch. A text that was once considered sacred, then removed from the canon, then forgotten for 1,500 years. Found here, in multiple copies, in multiple languages. In it, beings called the Watchers descend from heaven and take human women as wives. Their offspring, the Nephilim, giants who walked the earth. Enoch himself, great-great-great-grandfather of Noah, is taken alive into the sky and shown things no living human was meant to see. Why was it removed from Scripture? The official answer? Theological criteria. It didn't meet the standards of canonical texts. The unofficial question that some researchers ask, what if it fit too well? Because if the Watchers are real, if the boundary between the divine and the human was genuinely physically crossed, then the entire architecture of theology has to be rebuilt from the ground up. The nature of humanity changes. The nature of sin changes. The nature of God changes. Sometimes the simplest way to answer an impossible question is to erase the document that asks it. That is one interpretation. What you make of what's written there, that's yours to decide. And then there is the monopoly. After the scrolls were found, a small group of scholars gained exclusive control over access for decades. Other researchers couldn't examine the texts, couldn't even see the photographs. The more the secrecy stretched on, the louder the theories grew. There was something in there that would shatter religious doctrine, something being deliberately buried. In 1991, one American researcher took a concordance index the same team had already published. a reference tool listing every word and its location, and used it to reconstruct the hidden texts by reverse engineering. He published a book. The monopoly collapsed overnight. When scholars finally got full access, the verdict was unanimous. No hidden bombshells. Just difficult, painstaking ancient texts that needed slow, careful work. But here is what that episode tells us. The scrolls don't need to contain secrets to be powerful. The mere possibility that they might, the closed doors, the denied access, the whispered questions, was enough to hold the world's attention for 40 years. That is the power of this place. Even the absence of a secret becomes its own kind of story. The Copper Scroll, a treasure map under glass. Shock fact number 5. In 1952, one of the Qumran caves yielded something unlike any other manuscript. Not leather, not papyrus, copper. 2 rolled sheets of metal with a text hammered into them. When it was deciphered, researchers were stunned. A list. 64 locations with detailed directions to hidden treasures. Gold, silver, temple vessels. If everything listed were added together, several dozen tons of precious metals. The leading theory? These are the treasures of the Second Temple, hidden before the Roman conquest. If true, we are talking about one of the largest hoards in human history. Not one of the 64 locations has ever been found. In 70 years. The Copper Scroll lies in the Jordan Museum in Amman, behind glass. A treasure map, public, accessible, and utterly useless, because no one has yet decoded where it actually points. What would you do if you found a map like that? Masada, the fortress that never surrendered. This is a separate story, and it explains something essential about the country itself. A vast mesa above the Dead Sea, 450 meters above its surface. King Herod built a fortress here in the 1st century BCE. Palaces with frescoes, baths with heated floors, cisterns for water. The summit visible for hundreds of kilometers. In 70 CE, Rome took Jerusalem. Around 960 Jewish men, women, and children retreated to Masada. They held the rock for 3 years while a Roman legion constructed a siege ramp nearly 2 kilometers long, one of the largest siege operations of antiquity. When the Romans climbed up, they found silence. All 960 were dead. The defenders had not surrendered. Since then, Israel has had a term for it. The Masada complex, a psychological phenomenon, the conviction that in the event of defeat, no mercy will come, that it is better to perish than to surrender. Psychologists describe it as part of the national consciousness. Every year, Israeli soldiers take their oath of service at the summit of Masada, at night, by torchlight. The symbolism is deliberate. The Roman ramp still stands, visible to the naked eye from the top of the mountain. Nearly 2,000 years, and the traces of the siege have gone nowhere. One of the best preserved siege constructions of antiquity. You stand at the summit and look down at that ramp, and you understand. That is where they climbed. That is what it looked like. Masada was excavated in the 1960s under Israeli archaeologist Yigael Yadin. They found Torah scrolls, coins minted during the revolt, food remnants in sealed vessels, traces of fire, bones. They found women's braided hair, a child's sandal, and they found the lots. 11 small pottery. If this is your first time to Josephus, feel free to subscribe. Before the very end, don't forget to leave a like, the men and share in the comments which fact about this country surprised you the most. 10 men killed everyone. Then one of the 10 killed the 9. Then he killed himself. One shard reads, Ben Yair, the name of the commander. Whether this is the last lot cast or simply a shard with a name cannot be established. But the object exists. It lies in a museum. You can see it. This is not a legend. This is a physical thing. This is what sets Israel apart from most places on earth. Here, myths become artifacts. Artifacts become questions. And the questions never close. The laboratory at the end of history. Now, step back for a moment. We have stood at the bottom of a tectonic rift. We have walked streets 2,000 years old. We have held in our minds a copper treasure map that no one has decoded in 70 years. We have visited a fortress where soldiers swear oaths by torchlight. And all of it, every layer, every stone, every open question, belongs to a country the size of New Jersey, a country with almost no water, no oil, half desert. A country that, by every conventional measure of geography and resources, should not have survived. So why does it keep surprising the world? The answer is hidden in everything we've already seen. When a place forces you, for 7,000 years, to solve the unsolvable, you either stop existing or you become very, very good at solving things. Shock fact number 6. And this one has nothing to do with mysticism. Tomatoes grow in the Negev desert without rain. Israel invented drip irrigation, not because it was clever, but because there was no other option. Necessity isn't just the mother of invention here, it's the entire family. That technology now feeds hundreds of millions of people across India, Africa, and China. 85% of the country's drinking water comes from ocean desalination. A country with no water solved the water problem completely. The same problem that has collapsed civilizations, solved, engineered away, made ordinary. Waze navigation, invented here. Capsule endoscopy, the camera pill you swallow, invented here. Pegasus, the surveillance software that could silently penetrate any smartphone on the planet without a single tap from the owner. Developed here. No click required. The device was infected through a vulnerability the manufacturer didn't know existed. Full access to everything. Messages, microphone, camera, location. The most powerful surveillance tool in private hands, built by a company of a few hundred engineers in a country of 9 million people. 9 million people. Fewer than Moscow. This is not coincidence, and it is not magic. It is what happens when a culture absorbs, for millennia, the fundamental lesson of this land. The ground can disappear beneath you at any moment. The sea can take your city. The empire that controls everything today will be ruins tomorrow. The only thing that lasts is the capacity to adapt. The Egyptians built fortresses here and left their stones. The Romans built aqueducts and left their arches. The Crusaders built castles and left their rubble. Each thought they had solved the problem of this place permanently. None of them had. Because this place doesn't reward permanence. It rewards flexibility. It rewards the ability to rebuild on ruins, to find water in desert, to read a landscape that keeps changing beneath your feet. What looks like a technology sector is actually the latest expression of a 7,000-year survival strategy. And then there is the experiment that should not have worked. In 1910, a commune appeared in the desert. Shared land, shared labor, decisions by vote. Children raised collectively, everyone receiving according to their needs. A functioning communism inside a market economy in the middle of a desert. And it did not collapse. Today there are around 270 such communes, kibbutzim, 130,000 people, 1.5% of the population. They produce roughly 10% of the country's industrial exports. One kibbutz, Netafim, one of the first and still one of the largest, invented and manufactures most of Israel's drip irrigation equipment, now used in 40 countries. A collective without private property created a technology that feeds the capitalist world. The commune became a global corporation and remained a commune. Israel surprises you even in the footnotes. One square on the map. Each of these stories could have been its own documentary. The Underwater City, a feature film. The Copper Scroll, a separate expedition. Masada, its own saga. Jerusalem Syndrome, a psychiatric study. Every one of these is not merely an interesting detail. Every one is an open question humanity has not yet answered. And all of it is in one place, one country, 22,000 square kilometers. So, what do we have? A place at the bottom of a tectonic rift where the ground swallows itself without warning. An underwater city with a stone circle 9,000 years old, built by people who stayed as the sea consumed their world. Underground tunnels lined with 500-ton stones, beneath which the salt mountain above a geological wound that exposes 200 million years of planetary history. A copper treasure map that has sat under glass for 70 years unread. A fortress where soldiers swear their oaths by torchlight in the dark. All of this, one square on the map, smaller than the state of New Jersey. The secret of this country is not religion and not geopolitics. The secret is that this is the only place on Earth where every layer beneath your feet, every stone in every wall, every text in every cave, is one more unsolved question. And just when you think you understand it, the ground opens up beneath you again. The mountains of the Negev stand as they stood before humanity existed. The Dead Sea continues to drop. The menorah flame is lit every Friday, as it was 3,000 years ago. Civilizations come here and vanish. The place remains. Egyptians built fortresses here. Greeks built theaters. Romans built aqueducts. Crusaders built castles. The British built railways. All of them left. Their traces lie in layers one beneath another, like pages of a book no one has yet read to the end. Here, 9,000 years of history lie in strata beneath your feet, and humanity is adding a new layer right now. In most places on Earth, history lives in books. Here, it lives underfoot. And every time someone digs a new foundation, the Earth turns another page.